Welcome on into BKL Nightly. Thad Brown along with Rachel Liebert, Caleb Cardis. September 11th would begin today. We've been remembering all who lost their lives, all who gave their lives to help others on that fateful day 24 years ago in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. To all of those, our thoughts and prayers today. We begin, as always, talking football with the Bills and what the update is from practice. We start with guys, some actually big news today. Ed Oliver ended up on the injury report with an ankle injury, did not practice at all, which is concerning by itself because, well, there was no practice today. They had a walkthrough today. So it wasn't like Ed Oliver had some thing that happened to him. You would think during practice, I guess theoretically, he could have slipped and fell on a water bottle left around or someone stepped on him wrong as they were walking through practice. But Oliver was seen in the locker room afterward wearing a boot, using his scooter to get around. There was one report who I think that said that he played some ping pong off the scooter, yay, but otherwise was using the scooter. And, you know, this video, by the way, is from yesterday's practice. So, guys, we'll start here. You know, with him practicing in full yesterday, you know, question one is, when the heck did this happen? You know, like there was not anything you would think that would cause this type of injury. Now, maybe, you know, in a weight room incident, I don't know why you would hurt an ankle in weight room. It's not like they do a lot of, you know, calf raises that would cause ankle injuries. But, you know, that is the number one concern. You know, we don't even know when this happened. So spinning it forward, Caleb, I'll start on your side here with you know, how this affects the Bills just for this week. Give me your, and it's not fair, I'm going to ask you to play a little TV doctor, but what's your confidence level whether or not Ed Oliver is going to even be available for this weekend?
Based off the fact that it's a boot and he was on a scooter, you know, similar to kind of what we saw Clear Shakir in earlier in the preseason. God.
Right? That's about the right answer.
You would hope that they're just kind of being cautious, but the confidence level isn't high that he's going to play on Sunday. Now, do they need him to play? You would probably say yes. You know, it's Justin Fields, it's Breece Hall. It's a good running game. It's a good quarterback who can get outside the pocket. You would hope that Ed Oliver's out there because we saw the impact that he could make last week. So obviously it doesn't matter who you're playing. You want him out there. The confidence levels that he's going to play, unless for some reason it's just them being cautious, which I feel like it isn't, then I'm not too high on it.
It does feel like a scooter would be a ridiculous amount of, you know, caution for a guy who's, if they think he's going to play on Sunday. I mean, this feels like something that says he's going to miss time. You know, again, we don't know. We'll find out from Sean McDermott officially on Friday. And Rachel, you know, Caleb kind of touched on it there. Ed Oliver, if you had 10 plays that the defensive line made that were good on Sunday night against Baltimore, he probably made, 8.5 of them?
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
So this is going to be a sizable loss for the Bills if he can't go.
Yeah, we've been talking about Ed Oliver all week as the one bright spot of this defense. So this is just a really weird turn of events. And to Caleb's point and to your point, Thad, as well, we don't see a boot come out if it's just I would think just a small tweak to the ankle. So, we don't know what it is yet, but it's concerning for sure. This has been the guy that, who had a good defensive game? Ed Oliver. I feel like that's everybody's answer across the board. So to see him in a boot and kind of where did this even come from would be interesting to know. I know one person said maybe he got hurt riding a horse. We'll see. Right. I'm sure that's not what happened, but interesting to see where this.
Probably not, but you
never know.
What is it on the table right now?
That was my takeaway from seeing that on Hard Knocks was this feels a little dangerous. So maybe this is what happened.
At least he didn't get hurt drifting as far as we know.
That's true.
All right, let's start spinning this forward a little bit with where the Bills go. First of all, if Ed Oliver can't go, who plays? And I was going through the roster. There are not a lot of options. You know, Larry Ogunjobi is suspended. Dwayne Carter's on IR for the year. To be honest, I think Big Jordan Phillips is a shot to play this weekend. You know, Caleb, how much does that excite you? Granted, if you're taking out Ed Oliver, the options aren't going to be great, but at least Jordan Phillips has been around the block on this defense.
I think if there's someone that we have to put in there, you know, if there's someone that you have to fill in for Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips isn't a terrible option. You know, he's definitely higher up than he is. He's definitely closer to the top than to the bottom. But it's still, I said this on Monday, Ed Oliver's game on Sunday kind of got him closer to that, we have to game plan for him. And so I believe that he's really getting close to that, elite level. And, you know, not putting him on the same level as, a Chris Jones just yet, but it doesn't matter who you have to replace a guy like that. It's still going to be impactful. I think Jordan Phillips could fill in well. You've got Walker and Sanders there as well, the two rookies that could potentially see a little bit more time, and maybe that's good for them. But it's just losing him is huge, no matter who is there to fill in.
It is a good point, though, that, all right, let's play the worst case scenario out if Ed Oliver's gone, even for multiple games. TJ Sanders is about to get baptism by fire, which is not a terrible thing. No. I mean, at the very least, you're going to find out what you have in him there for sure. Separate of who plays for Ed, Rachel, if you take Ed Oliver out of this defense, I mean, first of all, the run defense probably couldn't have been worse, right? I mean, we think the run defense will get better. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. We'll get better simply because it ain't the Ravens on the other side this week. The pass rush, I think, is the concern because Ed Oliver was all of the interior pass rush against Baltimore. Now you're in a spot where you're left with Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa as your top two, really your only two impactful pass rushers, and they can be good, but when it's only on the outside, Josh Allen talked about it yesterday, that if a quarterback can step up, those outside rushes doesn't really matter. So what kind of pressure does this put on a Bills pass defense that we already think isn't super great in the secondary?
I think it was a lot of pressure on them. I mean, Greg Rousseau isn't even fully healthy. He's on the injury report. Joey Bosa, we saw last week, had a decent outing, but I mean, it wasn't anything great. So
is he ever fully healthy, by the way? I mean, he's fully healthy.
Rousseau or Joey Bosa?
Joey Bosa.
No,
he lives in a whole different world of fully healthy at this point.
That is true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it is a concern because, like I've said, 5 minutes ago, all we talked about was how much Ed Oliver impacted the game and impacted the pressure put on the Ravens offense. And without him, who is going to be that person? I know there's some rookies that can step up, and I think it is, the Jets, that you described them yesterday as a mini Ravens. So I think, there's other teams that maybe I wish they were playing in week 2 that I'd feel a little bit better if Ed Oliver wasn't there. But at the same time, I think it does bring some opportunity, but it is a concern that who will be that person to step up because on the end, I mean, we haven't seen that yet. I know it is week 1. We have only gotten a limited, amount of snaps to see that, but it is a concern of mine.
Ravens light is the official term that I'm going with,
Ravens
by the way.
light,
I just want to keep that right with the Jets. Yeah. Caleb, let's talk about that for a minute. If it's not, how much more of a threat do we think the Jets are if it is no Ed Oliver on the field? I mean, this is not supposed to be a ridiculous good offense, but they were better than expected in week 1 for sure.
Oh, definitely. And you've got Breece Hall, he's had his question marks, but he's still a great running back. And then Justin Fields, who's proven that debatably he's better with his legs than he is with his arms. So there's going to be, with his arm, singular, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the team as a whole when it comes to the running game. Both of them are going to be really big. And like I just said, you don't have Ed Oliver there. It really doesn't matter who you're replacing with him. It's going to be a downgrade. So now we're going to see I'm interested to see what's going to be more of a difference, the Ravens to the Jets, or how Ed Oliver, the defensive line with Ed Oliver to the defensive line without Ed Oliver.
It's a great call. I don't know if we'll get a real fair take on that at all. Let's go to the full injury report now, or at least the other guys who were on the injury report, not named Ed Oliver, of note. Trey White still on there with a groin injury. He actually was limited today in practice. This is last week's injury report, isn't it? Do I have the wrong thing?
It is.
That's my bad.
Good news, Trey White is no longer did not practice.
Everybody's going to like the new injury report. Let's do that one.
A little bit better than this one.
Here we go. Okay. Taron Johnson, limited with a quad injury. Shaq Thompson, both those guys are upgrades. They were both DNPs yesterday. They're up to limited today. In addition, James Cook and Brandon Codrington were both upgrades from limited to full practice. So otherwise, the injury report looks pretty solid, but the concern continues to be at Oliver for sure. Now, separate of all of the injury concerns, one of the big bright spots for the Bills in that first game was Keon Coleman for sure. 8 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. Today, Keon Coleman talked to the media, Deion Dawkins too, and unsurprisingly, Deion was doing a little bit of a victory lap. Remember, last week when he talked about how he said, there's a breakout coming. There's a breakout coming for my guy, Keon Coleman. And although Deion didn't go maybe full victory lap today, he certainly earned a chance to say things like this.
If people doubted it, they're crazy, because I see him every day. But to see it all happen on game day and listening to the coach say, this rep will happen on game day, and this move right here will happen this will look like this on Sundays. This right here, this technique will show up again. over and over and over and over, and then for the kid to go and execute. It's a beautiful thing.
It's just one game, but it is a great start, and, that's expected. It's expected for me to go out there and make the plays that I make, and, wins expected too. So, I guess it's pretty validating in a sense. I guess you can say that, but, it's just, when you put in the work, you have a different expectation for yourself. And when the guys around you see the work you put in and they know what you're capable of, their expectations change.
Everybody's like, wow, that was a breakout game, where he's going to have a breakout season. And it's just going to keep going every week, in, week out, week in, week out. And I'll be his voice. I'll sit here and preach for him like I'll preach for the new kicker, anybody. I will speak life into it. The power of the tongue is definitely serious. And I'm happy that Keon is in the position that he's in. He's what, year 2, but he's graduated. It seems like he had all AP classes and skipped a couple grades, but he's on the right course.
The Deion analogies remain undefeated, by the way. Before we talk about Keon, I want to talk about one thing that Keon mentioned, or one thing that Deion mentioned in terms of the power of the tongue. I really love that point from him, that if I keep saying that Keon Coleman's going to have a breakout, it's going to help him have a breakout. I just want your reaction to that, because I loved that take. And this is why a guy like Deion Dawkins is great in the locker room. Rachel.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, Deion Dawkins is probably the most vocal guy on the team, just in regards to the way he's in, press conferences and things like that. I mean, and we've talked about this so much of, is Keon going to have a breakout year? And I truly believe that if his teammates believe in that, if he believes in that, it's possible. We saw a glimpse of what could be in week 1. And I think, Deion just kind of, and also kind of saying to the media, I'm telling you guys, he's having a breakout year. So we'll, now it's kind of out there. It's kind of set in stone that Deion said those things. So we'll see where it goes. But I think it's, great to hear from a veteran guy.
Yeah, the culture. To me, this just shows that the culture that Sean McDermott has built. Deion Dawkins is obviously the front runner of this. He's the most vocal, but I feel like this is just the locker room that the Bills have built, and this is part of the reason why that they've been so successful, is because they have so much trust, not only in themselves, like each individual player, but as their teammates, as the guy next to them, as the guy behind them. Doesn't matter who it is, everybody believes in each other. And that, to me, is part of the reason why you see so many of these young guys who, even if they're not having amazing seasons across the entire NFL, they're playing very, very well within the Bill system.
You talk about the culture, the Sean McDermott, we're going to focus on all the little things. We're going to keep every detail, no stone unturned. You saw it in Hard Knocks when they talked about, look how many guys are around the ball at the end of a play. This, to me, is another example of that. You're finding every little detail. Maybe Keon Coleman isn't great, but Deion Dawkins is going to do every single thing he can to get him there, even if it means talking about him well in the media. As for getting there, how much do we buy into the breakout? I'm going to start by saying I saw the film, and we talked about it on the Let's Talk Ball edition of BKL Nightly on Tuesday, myself and Carl Jones. Look, it looked better, but I'm not saying that this is a breakout. There were a lot of circumstantial evidence to how Keon Coleman put up that 8 for 112 on Sunday night, beyond even the deflected touchdown. But how much are we buying in general? At least he did lead the team in targets, lead the team in catches. That means something's got to be going right, Caleb?
Yes, yeah, I agree. And we kind of mentioned it earlier. We talked, when we were talking by ourselves earlier, about how there was a stat that said he had a 0% win rate.
Yeah, fantasy points data. I don't buy them a lot, but that was what they had.
Now, I don't think that's 100% accurate or really shows how his day was, but I agree that most of his big time catches weren't him beating someone one-on-one or him just absolutely destroying the secondary. It was, he finds a soft spot, or this is, which is still, you still have to be able to do that. He still has to be able to go out there and do that. And there were times last year where we saw him not be able to do that. So that's at least an improvement. But then the second part of it is, most of those big time plays came late in the game where, quote unquote, the Ravens might have been thinking it was garbage time. It really wasn't, obviously, but I think it's a positive, but I don't think it's as big as a positive as maybe
the numbers make it look.
Yes, exactly.
The other part of that too is Josh Allen was 33 for 46. He has not had that many attempts or completions in 3 seasons. So just by sheer volume, that number is probably going down.
I mean, I was listening to Keon talk today. It seems like Keon is aware of this narrative of the breakout year, and he seems to be kind of grounded, and that gives me not hope is not the right word, but just seeing that this could happen for him. I'm not completely sold on it, just like you guys. I mean, we haven't seen enough from him yet, but I do think that the way that he seems to be approaching it and, kind of like, well, this is the expectation for me. This is my job to go out there and make plays. It seems like Keon, it might be loading a little bit, like a little bit of a breakout year. I mean, not that I'm extremely confident that he's going to break out against the Jets and then we're going to be like, yep, Keon breakout year, it's here. But I mean, it seems like Keon is aware of what the narrative is around him. And that makes me confident in the fact that this could be a big year for him.
Improvement is improvement, and even if it's smaller than the numbers might make it look, I still think it's pretty darn encouraging for the Bills, even if I do want to see a whole lot more. And that's kind of, what the week one theme is. All right, let's go to the BKL Thursday roundtable. Got 3 topics to discuss today. We're going to start with not passing offense, but run offense. 108 yards for the Bills in week number 1 against the Ravens. That's a low number for them. They usually are a little better run offense. Caleb, we'll start with you. What's your concern level when it comes to the Bills' run offense going into week 2 and maybe, going forward long term here?
Well, into week 2 specifically, the Jets played pretty well against the Steelers. They only allowed 53 rush yards, but you have to take into account that that's with Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and then old man Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and Josh Allen are not that. So I think that they will have more success over the Jets than they did, than the Steelers did. But really, we need to see it happen because we didn't see that much success against the Ravens. So now you would think that the Jets' run defense is not as good as the Ravens' run defense. So I would like to see them go off a little bit. But the Jets' defense is still very strong, especially in the run game. So there's going to be a lot of work to do, but I think this could be a run-heavy game for them where they just try to expose.
Funny thing about the Jets is that most people thought they would be terrible against the run going into the season. They traded for Harrison Phillips, a Buffalo Bills old friend, and that helped solidify things a little bit. Rachel, the number that stood out to me week 1 for the Bills run game was 3 yards per carry, Josh Allen and James Cook combined on 25 carries. We'll throw out the kneel downs. It's still only 3 yards per carry. I've thought that the run game is something that Josh Allen needs to stay clean. And the Bills didn't get enough of it. That's why in the third quarter, it really felt like the offense was Josh Allen save us or that's it. How concerned are you going forward on this?
I don't think I'm concerned just yet. I think week 1 against the Ravens is going to be a test in all position rooms, in all areas of the game. And I think going into this game, I do believe that James Cook and Josh Allen will rush a little bit better than they did against the Ravens. But I still think that it might be a game where they have to rely on, the ball being in the air. I mean, I think this James Cook was very quiet. I mean, he had the 1 touchdown. Josh Allen was quiet on the ground too. But I do think they do have the capability of being a little better just because it's the Jets. I mean, and we'll see how that goes, even though the Steelers did, 54 rushing yards or 53. I mean, so obviously they have a good run defense, but I do think we'll see a little bit of an improvement, but I do still feel like they might rely on the ball being in the air for the most of the game.
It does feel like a lot of things have to improve because it was the Ravens and it won't be the Ravens this week. In addition, in terms of total run yards, they were down 2 touchdowns the whole second half pretty much. You're not running the ball very often in that. So the 108 number probably goes up just simply by having more chances to run. But yeah, I want to see it. Like, don't give me another $108 against the Jets, in a game, even if you put up 30 points. I want to see this run game be more of a factor for week number 2. All right, topic number 2. Speaking of overreacting, how much of an overreaction is the run defense alarm bells after the Ravens put 238 on the Bills? And I bring this up because you look last year, the Ravens put 271 on Buffalo in the regular season game. But outside of that, it really wasn't much of an issue for last season because other than that one big 271 game, the Bills had only one other game where they allowed more than 150 yards. And that was the Niners thrashing where they won by 25 anyway. And they only had 9 games total where they gave up 100 yards. So, Caleb, will go back to you. How much of an overreaction is the run D after one game against the Ravens?
I think we're on the sense that we are saying that it's not good. I think we're very much overreacting. It's week 1. You have to remember that this is week 1 for everybody out there, and there's going to be problems. There's going to be holes in week 1. And then it's also Derrick Henry. Like, you see, now it's unfortunate because you see a guy like Cole Bishop get stiff-armed and you're like, ooh, that's tough. And even the narrative that we've been giving Cole Bishop has been, I think, a little bit over the top because it is Derrick Henry. You have to remember that this is a guy that does that on the regular. Now, you still don't want to see stuff like that. It's still tough, but I think the Bills, especially since it's week 1, they have plenty of time to get it together and to improve. So I do think it's a little bit of an overreaction.
I agree. Rach, your take?
I think it's an overreaction, but I also think we saw Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson rush all over this team, and adjustments really were not made until like the final 5 minutes of the game. So to say that, this run defense isn't great, I feel like, could be an overreaction. But I also do think that it is a little bit of a concern for me because yes, you have Lamar Jackson, you have Derrick Henry, who, like you said, he's going to stiff arm people. That is going to happen. And Nicole Bishop, someone we've said it has been struggling. Unfortunate that is who it happened to. But I feel like the Bills did not make adjustments quick enough for me to say that this was a complete overreaction. I still have some concern going into week 2.
Yeah, I'm with you. The thing that bothers me was the number of times that Daquan Jones got single blocked on film. When your top D, nose-ish tackle is not occupying 2 blockers, not really helping you at all. I don't care who it is on the other side. That to me is a concern. Show me some fight. Now, to his credit, he was pretty good at the very end of the game. He was a big part of why the Bills got Baltimore off the field late. But I need to see more. I think it's fair to say that we can't certainly totally dismiss the idea this run defense will be functional because of one game and because it was the Ravens. But similar to the run offense, I got to see something, and before Ed Oliver had the injury, I absolutely wanted to see something this week. Now I don't know, because you don't have that star defensive tackle there. Third topic, and this is a fun one, or at least a fun, interesting discussion. Do you guys want Trey White or Dorian Strong to start at corner if Trey White is healthy and Rachel let you go first here, keeping in mind that we don't know what level of healthy Trey is going to be. So understanding that game 1 now might not be a total 100% Trey White.
I'm going to go with Dorian Strong here just because we don't, like you said, we don't know the level of healthy Trey White is. Trey White just returned this week. Trey White has been limited the last 2 days. And against the Jets team, this is, I think, going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Bills. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout, but I don't think Trey White needs to be on the defense now. And also Dorian Strong coming off a decent week 1 against the Ravens team, who we've been saying, was just really dominating on offense. Dorian Strong did fine to me. He didn't stand out as someone who struggled. He didn't have an amazing performance, but at this point right now, I would say I'd rather have Dorian Strong out there and see what Dorian Strong can do in week 2. See if Dorian Strong, can take that okay performance in week 1 and have an elevated performance in week 2. So I'm going to go with Strong on who I'd rather see out there.
Caleb?
I'm going to agree with Rachel for the most part. Outside of Garrett Wilson, this receiving core for the Jets is not very good. So if there is a game that you want your rookie cornerback to have to be out there, I would say the Jets is one of those teams that you would want to go up against. One thing I will say, though, is if the Bills are confident in Trey White's ability to play at all, I wouldn't mind seeing him on a limited number of snaps. I wouldn't mind seeing him out there because, again, this is a Jets team that shouldn't be too crazy in the passing game. The receivers aren't amazing outside Garrett Wilson, so it might not be a bad game to get Trey White warmed up a little bit. But, even if he's fully healthy, I don't want to see him starting, honestly, no matter what. But I wouldn't mind seeing some limited snaps from him.
I love the limited snaps point. I love the soft landing net point, too. I think you're right on both counts there. I like the idea of playing Strong just to find out more what you got there. Look, Trey White is not the future of this team at corner. Dorian Strong might be, and I know the Bills still have Max Harrison waiting in the wings somewhere. He's a first-round asset. But look, if you get Dorian Strong playing at the same level you got from Baltimore going forward, and he only gets better because he's a rookie, what kind of a fun little asset is that to have in the secondary with a first-round pick as well? So I'd like to see more. Whether or not it turns into a full game remains to be seen. If you have Trey White in the sideline right next to you, to where Dorian Strong gets beat one time, like, okay, go in there, Trey. Take care of this for us. That to me seems like the way to go with this. But it will be a fascinating decision no matter what. All right. The Bills over the last few years have done a really good job when it comes to quarterback sneaks. They've been nearly unstoppable. But not so much the last couple games here. They were 2-4 against the Ravens, famously had 3 stops against the Chiefs, back in the AFC Championship game. I know those 2 games are 9 months apart, but still, I see a trend developing. And as such, I spent some time yesterday in One Bills Drive talking to the offensive line and Sean McDermott about what they think of their confidence level running this play going forward.
When we look at that game, that's an area where, I think we have, not I think I know, we have to continue to, look at that hard. 2-point plays, the short yardage situations the other night, goal line situations. But that's somewhat normal early in the year when you're you don't really get a chance to play a real game, and now you can figure out or find out a little bit what are you look under the hood, what are these areas that we need to work on?
It's still a great play for us. And so as we gain inventory on how guys are stopping us or what their plan is for that specific play, then we have a little bit more inventory on our plan. So I'm not worried about it. I know that we've got a great plan.
We're just trying new things. Like, we've always gone to the left, now we're going to the right, just switching, just keeping teams guessing. We're doing it a little bit differently. We're not running as much as like a duo. We're doing more that like actually QB sneak. Then we go back the old way. Just we have more repertoire now. Like, teams aren't only stacking. Like, first time we went to run it last week, they all slanted to the left, and we got an easy 3-4 yards off it. So it's like now teams got to wait a little bit more, like which way we're actually going to run it. So I think that really helps us.
I think the Bills understanding they need to do something different is smart. And I think the thing I land on is that I don't think this play is something the Bills can just depend on succeeding with all the time.
No, I think this is a very streaky type of play where, to Connor McGovern's point, you do one thing, the defense adjusts. You do another thing, the defense adjusts. So I think right now the defense has adjusted to the point where the Bills don't have too much success on it, but give it a few games. Joe Brady will figure it out and it'll work again.
The push and pull I can easily see happening where the Bills, okay, we're going to do this. Oh, look, this is going to work for 3-4 weeks in a row. And this is, the thing is though, last year it felt like the Bills could walk to the line of scrimmage and hold a sign up and say, we're going to run a sneak and it would work. And I don't think we're there anymore. I think we have to do, like you say, there needs to be a game plan for it, which is not bad. And the Josh Allen guy will probably make most game plans work. But Rachel, we are, I think, different with this play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Caleb said, defenses are knowing what's coming, and I think the Bills are going to adjust to that. I'm not worried about it. But you see, like, the Ravens and then the Chiefs going back to that, the second game that you said, I mean, those are tough defenses to run that play on in the first place. And then, they are obviously adjusting. So I think Joe Brady will figure it out, like Caleb said. But still, I think, time will tell. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
For sure. It'd be interesting to see where the Bills go with this play forward. Okay, time to look forward ourselves. It is time for our Thursday predictions for Bills and Jets. Rachel was the only person who correctly last week predicted a Bills win.
I was. Thank you.
And she has been not afraid to let us know about it. So you get the first pick this week with the Bills and the Jets.
Yeah, for me, the Bills are going to win this one as well. I picked 31-21. Bills are taking it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, like I said earlier, but I do think the Bills, will win comfortably by 10 points, maybe more. We'll see. But I mean, I think it'll be fine. They hung in there, or they won against the Ravens. It was a good game. I think that it will be a little bit of a challenge, maybe in the run defense, but they'll get it done. 31-21.
All right, Caleb.
I feel like some of the fans that left the game early lost hope in the Bills. Unfortunate, but I'm going to take the Bills again this week. Well, not again because I didn't take them last week. So for the first time this season, I'm going to take the Bills 38-24. I think the offense is just going to be lights out. Defense might struggle a little bit in the first half, which is why I got that 24 there. But I think both sides will be great in the second half, and Bills will walk away with an easy dub.
We're all in the same boat. I'm going to go Bills also 37-28. The Ed Oliver injury actually pushed the score up for me. I was 34-23 at first. I gave everybody else a little more points. No matter how many the Jets score, I think Josh Allen finds a way to score more. And really, coming off this Ravens game, as someone who picks this team every week, my thought is, how can I possibly pick against Josh Allen at this point? If he can rally from 15 down to Baltimore with 4 minutes to go, how do you pick against this guy ever? So, yeah, we will not be doing that in this seat for quite a while. Speaking of that, we were talking about this, that Rachel has the only win. I think, she's going to have that one-game lead for quite a while. I don't see many anti-Bills picks for a long time this season. All right, that's all for us today. Thanks for watching BKL Nightly. We're back again with the post-game show on Sunday. For Caleb and Rachel, I'm Thad. See ya.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.